Survival instincts have a big effect on how people react to stimulated situations and threats that happen upon them.
Did that scare you? If so, that was an example of your central nervous system using reflexes to react to the sudden movement of the ball. And this is an example of survival instincts, which plays a role in our day-to-day lives.
Although you might not have a ball thrown at you on a normal day, there are still some things that could be a shock to come across. Your nervous system is the first response of your body when you come across a potential threat.
When your body is in an unsituated and under attack situation, then your survival instincts will try to defend you using your reflexes, which will come into tact and just try to go against them in the situation. It is also starting to be a lack of survival instincts that people are having in future generations, and it's just not as big of a trait as people will have.
Reflexes contribute to many survival instincts. This introduces us to our first subtopic of how the nervous system affects how we affect things.
Then in our second subtopic, we'll talk about how some people might not even have survival instincts and how it's decreasing in our population.
For our last subtopic, we're going to be going into depth on the different types of coping mechanisms related to reflexes. Now, introducing our first subtopic, we're going to be talking about how the nervous system plays a big role on survival instincts. Now, generally, humans and animals are genetically wired to defend themselves against any unexpected events and threats. The nervous system reduces surprise to the body by creating certain circumstances that, in turn, create less of a shock upon the body.
Your nervous system will create these circumstances and have the simulation of possible encounters with a threat. Prevention strategies within the nervous system will create a safer environment for the individual.
It is by instinct and blooded nature that people try to avoid cautious situations. And it is all the information that tries to avoid these situations is sent to the hardwired defensive system in the midbrain. And all of the data that is brought to your brain from the survival instincts that are happening all proposes possible outcomes so then your body is ready for what's about to happen.
Humans and animals react to the demands of their environment in very specific ways, which goes to show how one's reaction might alter based on their situation.
According to the National Library of Medicine, there are two main systems that influence survival instincts, and the first one is the modulatory system, which includes metabolics, needs, strategy, and interception. And then the second system is the learning system, which includes mental probabilistic models and vicarious learnings.
Modulatory systems can control many survival instincts. Pulmonary systems use information to make conclusions, while signals from hormonal systems influence decisions.
When the brain senses any type of danger, it activates stress hormones that prepare the body to either get away from the danger or threat or to fight against it. There are two types of nervous systems that are key in kickstarting the fight or flight response.
These two systems are the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. So it lies in the autonomic nervous system, and this process happens in the temporal lobe and the medial temporal lobe. So basically, the amygdala will send distress signal to the hypothalamus, and then the hypothalamus will send these signals to a pump, which then pumps a hormone called epinephrine into our bloodstream.
So epinephrine is the cause of damaged sensory fibers, and it can also cause spinal cord and motor nerve cells to be damaged. And all of this happens in the nervous system, which controls the reflexes to happen when survival instincts occur.
Even senses such as sight and hearing can become heightened, which can happen so fast that the individual doesn't fully process what is happening until it passes. For example, if someone is driving in front of you and they quickly slam their brakes, you will also automatically slam your brakes. This will usually happen without even thinking about it, which is an example of your automatic reflexes.
Reflexes generally happen without a state of consciousness, which usually leads to people acting upon impulse. Now, after the danger situation happens, the parasympathetic system comes in and calms down the stress hormones.
This shows us how the nervous system influences instinct, which influences our reflexes. Next topic, we have how humans can have a lack of instinct.
Humans are always told that our survival instinct is strong, and it really exists. Yet many people of our society put themselves in these dangerous situations themselves.
Now, one of the ways that people lack in survival instincts is a concept called preservation in the bloodline, which is essentially when a family member feels obligated to protect those that they are close with. According to Reed Densman, he states that a family member or extended clan are genetically wired to want to protect their offspring at all costs.
Now, another type of condition that could contribute to the lack of survival instincts is something called hyperreflexia. So hyperreflexia is when an individual has a lack of reflex response, and in turn this causes the muscles to weaken over time.
Hyperreflexia can, as she said, can really just like weaken the muscles and just keep causing survival instincts just to it really does impact survival instincts.
Human instinct drives us to use the function. These are known as
Cognitive
cognitive
biases.
biases.
Survival instincts are very much caused by traumatic experiences, and they can also be related to they can also be related to traumatic experiences. And this leads us into all the coping mechanisms that survival instincts can relate to. And the couple that we are going to be going into are denial, repression, displacement, regression, rationalism, sublimation, and intellectualization.
So the first one that we're going to be talking about is denial. And what denial is when a person rejects reality or straight up truthful facts. And it's a widely known coping mechanism that people use in order to avoid painful feelings or events in time.
Another type of coping mechanism is repression, which is the act of hiding painful memories or thoughts. This protects the ego from any unacceptable thoughts and impulses.
Displacement is strong emotions directed towards a certain person or object. For example, maybe if you came home mad from work and you took that out on your child or your spouse, this would be known as displacement.
The other type of coping mechanism that we'll be talking about is regression. And regression is when one decides to escape to an earlier stage of their lives as a form of a coping mechanism. And you don't typically see this in a lot of older generations. You'll typically see this in younger people who typically experience a lot of trust, loss, or grief. But it can also happen to humans too, not humans, adults. Kids are humans. But yeah, they can pick up habits from a younger age.
And another coping mechanism is rationalism, which is the attempting to explain undesirable behaviors with a consent of facts. And this can be an example of when you didn't get a job and you say, I didn't want the job anyways.
Another example is sublimation. Sublimation is when individuals typically direct their strong emotions into an object. So an example is if you had a bad day at work and you took your anger out on a boxing class.
Another type of coping mechanism is self-preservation, which is one of the main survival instincts that we have, which is when we instinctively attempt to protect ourselves in life-threatening situations.
So self-preservation mainly focuses on the body and the well-being of your mental state of mind, and this typically involves endurance, strength, and fitness.
So 3 zones of self-prevention instincts are the clear sense to take care of a being, and also self-care. There's also the connection to survival instincts that can cause people to be more in touch with their well-being, so they're more in touch with their surroundings. And when you're more in touch with your surroundings, the less survival instincts will be as big of a shock on you. And you'll just create situations for yourself so they won't be as big of a surprise.
Survival instincts are important because it is in our everyday lives. In our everyday lives, we're get into minor inconveniences which flare up other reflexes.
And we ran into a problem while researching where as I said before, there is a lack of people that are using survival instincts, and this can just mean that survival instincts are declining. So opinions on our topic is a way to make the brainstem stronger by making when survival instincts are lacking in a person. And this could just be as simple as just practicing it every day. And this can also just control the reflexes. So if you have more in touch with your survival instincts, then you'll have more in touch with your reflexes.
Now, this is extremely helpful because people who do not have the thought to keep themselves away from harmful situations need to have this thought in order to have these survival instincts. Thus, there must be a way on how the brainstem can improve on processing information in order for more people to have these survival instincts.
This new product could be such things like to practice to enhance reflexes, which will reflect on how well survival strategies come intact with people. This product could be a game, a puzzle, or even just a daily learning app on your phone or main device.
Now, this might not seem as effective as we're trying to make it seem, but as Northwestern Medicine states, routines can be enjoyable and fulfilling, and their health benefits may make you wonder why you didn't start sooner.
Reflex activity is unconscious. So a reflex arc is a pathway which has small neuron gaps sending signals to the body.
A best-known reflex is something called the pupillary light reflex, which is when a bright light is shined upon both pupils and both eyes will contract and dilate. Now, the light source here is the stimuli that our body is responding to.
So as you can see, the pupillary system is a light reflex that allows sudden adjustment to light. And as you can see, this pupil here is a whole lot smaller than this pupil here, and this is because of the circular muscles contract. And it's just, as you reach light in your eye, then your pupils will get smaller. And if this reflex did not occur, then the color in your eye would damage, and by this I mean the iris. But luckily, the pupillary reflex occurs most days.
So these impulses will reach the brain through the optic nerve, and these responses are conveyed through the pupillary muscle, and that is located in that colored part of our eye, or called the iris.
These nerves maintain a balance that do not require constant thought, and it is crucial in survival instincts because an adequate amount of balance is necessary to carry out daily tasks and prevent falls and injuries. And without this reflex, this is a good example because if it were not to occur, you'd have a major injury in your eye.
Another commonly known example of a reflex is the ankle jerk reflex. This is essentially a reflex tested by doctors where they use a hammer and hit the patient on the knee to check if the receptors and peripheral nerves are in check.
The next type of reflex that we'll be talking about is the cough reflex, which, when dust ends up in the trachea, your body will trigger cough receptors, which will then produce a cough that will expel unknown substances and materials. To recap, the nervous system, the lack of survival instincts, the types of reflexes, and coping mechanisms all play a role in survival instinct.
Over time, we see that survival instinct has not only declined as a whole, but also with age.
With this information, this can help us in our daily lives recall how much survival instincts affect our lives.
So next time you come across something that may be risky or dangerous,
We want you to think about whether your survival instincts were playing a big role or they were lacking.
And in the future, with the idea to make the brainstem stronger, it strengthens the reflexes preventing dangerous situations in the body.